So, welcome, friends. Today is July the 13th on Sunday. It's 4 p.m. in Thai time, morning time in the UK. So, today I would like to get started by talking about what are the prerequisites for getting started. This is actually pretty obvious, but we can start that way. But in fact, it's actually kind of important, especially the first item that I'm mentioning is that in order for anyone to get started on a spiritual journey, they have to recognize dukkha. Now, what I mean by that is that they have to say, I need something in my life, that my life misses something or another. And most of the time, people are raised in a religion or so, and that religion has not fulfilled what they're looking for, or they're raised with no religion, which basically would mean that they've been raised to be opposed to whatever the common religions are. So when I'm saying that people have to be a seeker, generally what we're talking about is people who wind up on some sort of Buddhist doorstep, saying that we're looking for something, that my life misses something. Christianity, in fact, talks about it in the sense that everybody's got a hole inside and that they describe it as a God shaped hole. And all you have to do is plug God into that hole and you're good to go. Except that we've had hundreds of millions and maybe billions of people over the past 2,000 years that have tried every cookie cutter kind of thing to put in that hole and have always come up lacking something. And so Christians will wind up doing things like putting a bicycle or maybe a motorcycle or maybe a girlfriend or a house or a job or something into that hole, and it still doesn't get filled up. So when people are actually looking for something, I would say that one of the ways of talking about it is that we're missing something. There's a hole inside. Now, I will point this out is that within the teachings of the Buddha, we're actually kind of glad that that hole is there, that we're not trying to fill it up. In fact, we're letting it be quite empty. In fact, it's a whole lot easier to be empty inside rather than full of a bunch of junk. But that's the first thing that we have to have is we have to have some longing, some need. Now, this is important because you'll find, unlike Buddhism, unlike the teachings of the Buddha, many of the religions are out there trying to force or shove their religion down the throats of people who are not really looking for anything. Christianity calls it proselytizing, and Islam calls it you either become Islam or we're going to cut your head off. You've got a choice. So that's basically the way that the religions are operating. They think, in fact, many of them have the idea that they have to proselytize, they have to go out on membership drives. I remember when I was a child that they would regularly have at whatever church that my mom was forcing me to attend, they would go, they called it, I think, visitation, and they'd send people out to try to get new members of the church. Well, the people who were going out to do the visitation were willing to do that partly because they wanted somebody else to put money in the collection plate. So, within the context of the teaching of the Buddha, we don't proselytize because most of the population is not out there looking for something. And so we're just a bother or an encumbrance to them. And so within the teachings of the Buddha, we kind of wait until somebody comes in to start asking questions. Maybe join a Discord group or sign into a website or contact a teacher or something like that to indicate that they're actually looking for something. So that's the very first thing that we can talk about. The second thing that is needed would be to find something or another that we can actually begin to count on. Within the context of the suttas, we call this respect, that we have to have respect for what system that we're learning about, because if we don't have any respect for it, there's very, very little chance of people putting in the right kind of effort that they need to get any value out of it. So that means then that the teaching has to be presented by someone or in such a way so that it looks like that it's worthwhile. Now, we've had several talks recently about various, let us say, psychotherapeutic finagling that uses some aspects of Buddhism to try to gain clients. And that unfortunately, most of the people in the West who were seeking some sort of relief from their internal hole that they have, their dukkha, they find the wrong group, which really doesn't have any liberation to it at all. That in fact it's like another religion, that we can go down through the list of all the stuff that fails. Christianity fails, Islam fails, psychotherapy fails, drugs fail. That in fact there was an experiment done in the 1970s about depression, and that they used three different groups. They used psychotherapy, they used medication through psychiatrists, and then they would have just the gym. And the surprise was is that people are more likely to come out of a depression by going to the gym on a regular basis. Now, the funny thing about it is that of those three things, um, going to the gym is the only thing that is active that the actual seeker is doing. And because they're actually doing something and getting value out of that. So this is the point about the teaching of the Buddha is that it's something that is a skill development, something that has to be done. We call it practice. And what the practice actually is the practice of changing one's mind states, changing our feelings, changing our body postures and positions, etc., like that. So it's complete practice to change. And if you're practicing correctly, we are changing for the better. That in fact, if we're actually practicing correctly, we get an immediate hit. We get an instant response. We could go so far as to say that instant, immediate response is so valuable that it's actually the cure to a disease. It's like having a cold and doing something like using an inhaler, or your friend gave you a pill or something like that, and all of a sudden your chest clears up, your nasal cavities clear up, your fatigue goes away, and you feel great. But guess what? That doesn't mean that you're cured forever. You're just cured for this particular moment, and you can go back and catch another cold. That in fact, nowadays, they've got 100 or more different definitions of colds, uh, COVID, and all kinds of names that they have for them, but a lot of influenza, etc. But many of the colds don't actually have names to them yet. In fact, they only get a name when some sort of outbreak or endemic thing happens, and then they'll get a name like bird flu. But there's more than 100 colds, and so even though you get the cure, you can get sick again. Well, this is very pointed about the teachings of the Buddha, that in fact, if you practice correctly, you can get cured from your spiritual disease almost immediately and get some relief immediately. This is great. that in fact the Buddha says that the anapanasati practice is of great fruit, of great benefit, but we need to keep doing it. We need to keep taking the medicine in order to keep experiencing that great benefit. Now, this fits in directly with uh, learning to respect the the teaching so that you'll actually apply it. I have in my past, and you probably have too, that you've had a cold or flu or something, and somebody comes and says, "Here, take this pill." I don't know what that pill is, and so I'm likely to not take it. I'm only going to take it if it's kind of forced on me, but I'm not going to take a pill that I don't know what it is. And so this is where the respect comes in, that we need to have the respect for the teaching, because if we don't have that respect, then we're not going to practice. So those two things are really important. If you don't see the need for it, that's that first item. In other words, you can't see that you need something. You can't see, in fact, that you're sick, or that you don't see any value in taking the medicine that you're given. But if you do have respect for the medicine that you're given, and you do recognize that you have an illness, now you're set up to start practicing. But the problem is that, are you going to be practicing correctly? Because, like I said, there's a huge number of practices that are out there that are not doing the job that they claim that they can do. Psychotherapy doesn't work. Pills don't work. Maybe a little bit of exercise works in a little bit of a way, but religions for sure don't work. And a whole lot of the teachings of Buddhism don't work. An example of that we talked about last time was Vipassana or insight or mindfulness meditations don't have that curative quality to it. So, if we are actually going to get some value from it, we have to practice actually what the Buddha himself taught. Now, what Buddha taught has been going on for more than 2,500 years, and people all along that time frame have been getting great value from it. But there came a time uh, back in the Middle Ages, let's say from about 1100 AD up until about 1500 AD, the primary enemy of the teachings of the Buddha was Brahmanism, because the Brahmins, if all the Brahmin people, if all the people of India started practicing the noble Dhamma correctly, the Brahmins would go broke. They can't make any money off of it. Well, that's the true for Christianity. It's true for Islam. It's true for psychotherapy. It's true for Vipassana meditation, because all of them are in the system for the profit. It's only the real teachings of the Buddha to where we don't actually charge any money at all. That we do it out of our kindness, or out of, let us say, the duty to the Dhamma is to help spread the Dhamma. And so that would be one of the indications for people to say, wait a minute, these guys are out there getting some benefit and they're not even charging money for what they do. Maybe we should look into that and see what they've got to say. So let us say then that there are two kinds of Buddhisms. There is ordinary Buddhism for ordinary people that's very much like a religion. And then there's the actual noble teachings of the Dhamma. Children are raised in the religion of Buddhism. They're given precepts or rules, they're given procedures and all kinds of stuff that turn it into a religion, including a lot of beliefs. But one of the things that's actually quite amazing about the actual teachings, the noble teachings of the Buddha, is that it's not based upon any belief system at all. It's actually based upon you practicing correctly and getting the benefit directly from that, and because you can see for yourself that you've got the benefit, and you can see from the people that you are around who are talking about the Buddha Dhamma are in fact looking like they're getting some benefit out of it. That's where the respect to actually start practicing comes from. So, if you've got two Buddhisms, we can say that the way that Buddhism for the ordinary people operate, they have actually the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Path. Only the way that they operate is not very noble. For instance, they know about the dukkha, but they don't understand the cause of dukkha, and they think the relief from the dukkha is to make merit, or to get a better life, or to postpone things, hoping that things will get better, where in fact there's no chance of that happening. And so it's a morality-based system, just like all of the other religions. You do good work and you'll get good benefit. If you praise Jesus and do all the things that Christians tell you, then you'll wind up in heaven. But you got to wait until you're dead. You can't get it now. That's the difference between ordinary Buddhism and the actual teachings of the Buddha is that the value that you get from the practice of the Dhamma is immediately available. So, if the ordinary Buddhism is based upon sila or morality, then you could say that their system goes morality and then um, uh, let us say a practice that leads to wisdom. And there's an awful lot of wise, ordinary people in the world. But one of the qualities within Buddhism is that once someone in an ordinary state comes through that process of sila, samadhi, panya up to wisdom, now they're ready to actually get the noble Dhamma, which starts with and is, let us say, based in wisdom. Now, what I mean by based in wisdom, it means that we begin to see things differently than before. Now, when I say right noble view, many people, ordinary people, will think the view is a viewpoint or a philosophy or a set of ideals, a worldview, a set of beliefs, etc., like that. And that ordinary view comes in two forms. There is ordinary wrong view and ordinary right view, which can be summed up in the sense that ordinary wrong view means that I've got nobody looking after me. I can go do what I want to do. I can harm who I want to do. In the sense, I can go do whatever I please, and I can get away with it because there's no God in heaven. There are no angels. And that if I'm smart, I can outfox the police. And so I can do what I want to do. This is actually the view of the psychopath. Now, the opposite of that is you can't get away with it. So the wrong view is I can get away with it, and the right ordinary view is that you can't get away with it. We've got armies, we've got police, we've got teachers, we've got priests, we've got preachers, and we'll get you. If we can't get you now, we'll get you later. If we can't get you later, we'll get you after that, that you can't get away with it. But that's not the right noble view that the teacher of the Buddha was teaching. That in fact we need to make a change of reference from right noble view being a noun, a viewpoint, a worldview, into a viewing or a looking, and we do that right here, right now. So you could say that. The ordinary right view and wrong view is about the past and the future, but right noble viewing is about what we're doing right now, because any medicine that you take for any illness at all, you got to take that pill right now. That's the whole point of the teaching of the Buddha, that it's not future oriented. It's not that you can get to heaven someday or you'll go to hell someday, but in fact, you make your hells right now, or you can make yourself a heaven right now. It depends upon your own choice. And so, if you can actually see what we're doing right here, right now, we in fact then do have a choice. Now, the important thing is that it's not just a one-time pill. It's not a one-time shot. It's not a one-time looking. We have to do it over and over and over again, because we've got habits, and our habits are likely to pull us back into our old habit patterns, and we can jump out of that habit for the moment and then jump right back in. Now, habits are of two kinds. One kind of habit is learned from childhood, and the other kind of habit is what we would call instinct. We have built in programming. Now, that programming that was built in hundreds, maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we were, let us say, jungle bunnies. And so we developed a self-preservation instinct because something might be dangerous. It can jump right up on us while we're not looking and eat us. We better be watchful and wake up. Now, what's happened with that is that people in modern times with that self-preservation instinct winds up seeing danger where in fact there's no danger. And so a lot of what we're talking about with being able to see clearly is to see when danger is real and when it is not real, because most of the time it's not real. Most of the dangers that you see are not real. Many examples. One would be, I've got to write an email to my boss, and we become afraid. The boss is not going to eat you alive. Even if you lose your job, you're still safe. So there's no reason to be afraid because you've got some job to do. And yet we are instinctually afraid much more often than we need to be. But if you can become aware that you're afraid for no reason at all, that's the time that you can actually change it. So what we're talking about is 3 items out of the Eightfold Noble Path. The first one is to remember to practice often. The second one is the actual work to do, which is to look at how we feel, look at what our attitude is, and most specifically, look at what we're thinking right now, as well as looking at how the body feels. And if we can do that, then we can make changes. We can change the words that we're using internally from unwholesome to wholesome, from I've got to watch out, there's dangers out there, into I've watched out and there is no danger. Let me feel safe and comfortable and satisfied. So, this is the actual practice of the Buddha, and anyone can do this and get immediate benefits. But we have to keep practicing it in order to continue to get these immediate benefits. And one of the main benefits would be joy, happiness, satisfaction, mainly satisfaction. That in fact, we can see that the entire teachings of the Buddha is based upon one phrase he said. He says, both formerly and now, I teach only one thing, and that is dukkha, dukkha nirodha. And what that actually means is that the number one thing that he teaches is dukkha is dissatisfaction, disappointment, not getting what we want, having to put up with stuff that we don't want to put up with, and not seeing straight about doing that. So that's actually is the second noble truth. The first noble truth is there is dukkha. Now, a lot of people will go so far as to say life itself is dukkha, but I don't think anybody here, when they hear that life is dukkha, life is dissatisfying all on its own, is ready just to blow it off and kill themselves right now. Nobody's ready to do that. They'd rather throw a bicycle or a motorcycle in that hole and hope that that helps. So, we're not talking about a dissatisfaction that's inherent. We're talking about a dissatisfaction that we actually do. What do? We want things we can't have. We want to get rid of things that we can't get rid of. And we go around blaming the outside world for our own difficulties. We'll blame our mommy, blame our daddy, blame society, blame Putin, blame Islam. We blame and blame and blame, which means that we're not willing to take the responsibility that we're the ones who create our own dissatisfaction. That's the real crux to the ignorance, is that we're not seeing that we're making this shit up. And when we begin to see that we're making this shit up, we can begin to see the making it up, and then we can put a stop to it. We can say, oh, I feel bad because I made that shit up. I should feel bad right now. And then we can stop it and say, oh, no, I don't have to feel bad right now. I can feel good right now. So that's basically just the touch that, in fact, if anybody does what I've talked about so far today, you can be liberated from all of your disappointments simply by practicing not being disappointed. You can start to practice by being satisfied, safe and secure, comfortable and satisfied. Those three items are actually part of the definition of the word sukha, and sukha is actually the opposite of the word dukkha. So Buddha is actually saying he teaches only one thing, and that is dukkha and sukha, your choice. But we often are not aware that we're making that choice. That's where the ignorance comes in. And often we're even clinging to, thinking that we know the right thing, where in fact we don't. And that would be then actual delusion or denial. And if we're in a state of delusion, we're not being able to see straight. But if you can see straight, you can say that, oh, all of the troubles of the world I create for myself. You could go so far as to say that more than 90% of the problems that you've ever had in your life, you made that shit up, and it actually never happened. You can think that the boss is angry at you, where in fact he's just got indigestion. He don't care about you at all. Or he gets angry at you, you think, oh, that's the end of my life, and he gets about it 10 minutes later, and you carry it around for 10 days. In fact, you go around doing things intentionally to piss him off, and you don't even know you're doing that. So, this is all about what we mean by wake up. It means to really start paying attention to what we're doing. Really look, remember to look at what you're doing and then make a change for the wholesome. Those three things. In the Pali, it is sati, to remember to be here now. Ditti, which means remembering to look. It's a verb, it's not a noun. It's what's happening right now, not what I believe things are. And then virya, a right noble effort to make the change. Now, going back to the original teaching that we started on here, if you know that you have some dukkha, and that you know that that there is a teaching out there, and that you know that you practice it, then you'll start to practice it. But if you are not sure that you're in the need of a practice, then you're unlikely to do it. You can be sick as a dog and tell the doctor, I'm okay, because you're denying that you're missing something in life. And basically what we're denying is that we're making our own troubles. We blame the other people. You can see politicians doing that all over the place. Putin is blaming Europe for his invasion of Ukraine. You can see Donald Trump is blaming this, that, and the other thing on a regular basis. He will not take responsibility for his own behavior. That's hard to do. But in fact, that's one of the main reasons why people don't practice the teaching of the Buddha, is because they will blame something or someone else for the reason that they're in dukkha, or they'll deny the dukkha altogether. So a lot of people want to practice, or they want to get the benefit basically of the teaching of the Buddha, but they're not willing to make that effort to begin to look over and over and over again, and then remember to look, to do the looking, and then make the change. That's what the real practice is all about. In fact, every video that I've ever done, I always bring this up because this is the teaching of the Buddha. There's not much else. Even though there's hundreds of thousands of words in the Pali Canon, they all boil down to this one little thing, and that is look at what you're doing so that you can make a change. Or if you can look at what you're doing and you can see that it's actually quite wholesome and beneficial, then congratulate yourself for having been doing the right thing. But we need to practice this over and over again. People can hear the Dhamma, then they can say, yeah, I want to practice it. And then something will happen, maybe a school exam, or they'll get sick or whatever like that. And then they'll stop practicing. That actually Bhikkhu Buddhadasa says that if you're ill, if you've got a sickness, that's the absolute best time to practice. That's when you need it the most. If you're worried about a school exam, instead of worrying about the school exam, the best thing to do is to, number one, stop worrying, and number two, to study. But you can't study when you're worried. And so when you have to take a school exam, the best thing to do is to practice. Practice coming out of your fear. Practice getting the mind into a wholesome state. Let us say, an attitude of a winner, that we are actually born with an attitude of being a victim, or attitude of being a loser. In fact, I remember having a conversation with a new person on the internet, and when I started to talk about this, her comment was, "I'm not a loser. I'm not a victim." And she hung up very quickly, and I've never heard back from her. All right. And so she got her back up when I mentioned that she was doing what everybody does. We're all a victim until we change our attitude from being a victim into being a winner. Well, how do you do that? How do you change your attitude from being a victim into being a winner? Well, the practice is, first off, to see that you've got the attitude of a victim. And then you can begin to talk to yourself about that. Are you really a victim? I don't think so. Then, in fact, you're in charge of your life. In fact, most of the reason that you're a victim is because you treat yourself like a victim. And one of the things that victims do is that they blame other people. One of the things that victims do is they go out looking for help. They'll go to a therapist, they'll go to a psychiatrist and get some pills. They'll go to a church. They'll claim Jesus is going to save me if I only pray to him. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the Muslims do, but whatever it is, it doesn't work. The whole point is that if we are a victim to a God, if we're a victim to a society, if we're a victim to our parents, whoever that victim pointing at is, it's their fault. They don't understand that that's just a delusion. That in fact, the real place to point, in fact, you've probably heard that when you're pointing one finger, you've got three or four others pointing right back at you. And so this is the whole idea is that we become, by seeing our victimhood and by seeing that we blame other people and wanting the outside world to change, we can say, wait a minute, the only change that's going to happen is the change that I make. I've got to make my own changes. I've got to take the right to noble effort to make a change. And when I make that change, wow, it feels really good. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that everybody here or anybody who listens to this video later, you can feel whatever way you want to feel if you practice. You can practice instead of feeling like a victim, you can feel like a winner. Instead of feeling afraid, you can feel safe and secure. Instead of feeling uncomfortable in situations, you can feel comfortable. It's up to you. You can feel whatever way you want to feel, but that takes practice. You have to do it over and over and over again. Every time our discomfort comes up, we can say, wait a minute, I see you. Then, in fact, the Buddha had a statement. He says, I see you, Mara. And Mara was the word that is used quite commonly in the suttas for your own unwholesome mind games, your own unwholesome thoughts, your own unwholesome attitude. And when you can see that, you can say, aha, I see you. Now, the most likely thing for people to do when they see that they're a victim, they will then go to, oh, poor me, I'm a victim. And they will actually become even more of a victim rather than making the change to come out of the victimhood. That when we say to feel safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied, they'll say, yeah, I feel satisfied, but it's not enough satisfaction. I want more, which means now they're back into dissatisfaction again. Or we can say, don't worry, be happy. And they'll say, yeah, I'm happy, but I'm not happy enough. I want more. So that's again wanting something that we don't have. That's the main source of dukkha right there, is wanting things that we don't have. So with wisdom, we can begin to change the things that we want into change that are easily available. So if you want happy, just be happy. If you want joy, just be joyful. If you want to feel free from danger, get out of the dangerous situation. Make sure that wherever you are, you're not in danger. Now, I would say offhand that I can't see everybody because they've got their cameras turned off. But the ones who do have their cameras on, I can see that, in fact, the room that you're in is not dangerous. Mr. Ben, is the room you're in dangerous?
Hasn't fallen down yet, so based on that evidence, I'd say no.
How about alligators? You got any alligators?
Don't think so. Pretty sure I've not.
How about crocodiles? How about, do you have the Russian mafia breaking in?
Not right now, so everything's good.
Everything is okay, right? So this is what we need to do: is we need to look around. If you feel unsafe, if you feel any danger, look at the reality of the room you're in to see that right now there's no danger. Well, right now, can I feel safe and secure? Then in fact, you could go so far as to say, let me use wisdom to figure out what is dangerous so that I can not go there. And by not going into dangerous places, I have no reason to have any fear at all. So, this is the way that we would practice. We would practice wherever we are. Now, a lot of people equate the teachings of the Buddha with a thing called meditation. Now, meditation is a word that comes out of Christianity. It was used mostly in the really, really old days, and that meditation is very close to philosophy, and that you could use words like cogitation or contemplation or figuring something out. Now, we do a little of this in the teaching of the Buddha, but that's not the primary practice. This is why I often do not use the word meditation, because we're not practicing cogitation. We're not practicing trying to figure things out. And in fact, a lot of people who practice Buddhist meditation try to figure out dukkha, but there's no figuring out. You either see it or it's not there. There's no figuring it out. You either see it or it's not. The example that I like is walking down a sidewalk, and right in front of you, you see a dog turd. What are you going to do, Mr. Ben, when you see that dog turd?
Step over it.
Step over it. That's right. What are the other choices? One of them is to see it and step right in it. This is what the Vajrayana call choiceless awareness. I see that dog turd, I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to make any choices about it. I'm going to step right in it. But there is even a worse practice that's been named as the Mahasi method, where the analogy would be they see that dog turd and they say, well, I've got some dukkha here. They'll scoop it up off the sidewalk, take it to their kitchen, slice it, dice it, fry it, mix it, make a patty out of it, and eat it. That's the Mahasi method. And that's why they're the ones who have a dark night of the soul. They're having a dark night of the soul because they keep eating all their shit. The right thing to do, as Mr. Ben said, is to step over it. That's exactly where we're going to practice. So the right noble effort is to stop the dog turd system that we're used to stop stepping in it and stop playing with it and just see it for what it is, and then make a change to come directly out of it. That's the only way. So this is the correct practice, and I invite each one of you to redouble your right noble effort to start practicing, to start looking at what the mind is doing. You don't have to go to a retreat. You don't have to go to a special room, a meditation hall, that wherever you are, that's the time, that's the place to practice. You can do it. I would actually say, if there's any formality that I would advise, it would be to set aside 5 or 10 minutes, 4, 5, 6 times a day, to actually remember to look at what you're thinking and to make a change, to actually bring yourself into that state intentionally of being safe and secure, almost fearless, to bring yourself into being safe and secure and comfortable and satisfied. Now, if you can bring yourself into that state of being safe and secure and satisfied 4, 5, 6 times a day, something new is going to happen. And what is that? The Pali word for it is actually on the Eightfold Noble Path. It's called Sammasankappa, which means that you're developing confidence that you can do this. This is where that wow sensation of, wow, we can do this. Wow, we can, in fact, come out of our suffering anytime that I remember to. Anytime I remember to, I can take the right noble effort to look at the crap and to get out of it immediately. And then that becomes to bring on that real noble attitude, the right noble attitude of being a lion, to being a winner. We're no longer a victim. We can do this. This is the practice. Now, almost all of you who have been on these calls, you, Mr. Ben and Ivan, and Mikey, and others have heard this over and over and over again. The question is, are you practicing it over and over and over again? Can you start to practice and do this on a regular basis? If you do, you'll wind up with a great big smile on your face almost all the time, because you've been able to successfully come out of the dukkha so many times that you've got that confidence that you can come out of the dukkha anytime that you want to. Now, in Sutta number 48, the Buddha talks about it in this way. First, he actually introduces the five hindrances, and we'll just talk about the five hindrances only in the term of anything that hinders you from being okay, good enough, just fine, happy enough, satisfied enough. Anything that prevents you from doing that, we can call a hindrance. And then we can also use that word obstruction. Obstructions and hindrances are basically the same thing. So anything that obstructs you from being happy is a hindrance that we can do without. So if the thoughts that you're having are preventing you from being happy, you can say, wait a minute, I can change that thought. I can change it. If I have the thought of, oh, I have work to do, we can change that thought into, I don't have to do it right now. It'll wait. And if I wait long enough, it may never need to be done anyway. If you have the thought, oh, I've got this problem that needs to be solved, we can say, wait a minute, I don't have to solve that problem right now. I can let it wait. In fact, the problem may not even exist. So we can change these thoughts from needing to do something, needing to feel bad, into, I don't have to do that right now. Now, the Buddha in the Sutta number 48 says is that the first knowledge, the first step of the noble life, this is an important point. Your first step into nobility is this point of no matter how obstructed the mind gets, you know that you can change your mind. That's an important point, because when people start to practice, they change their mind and they get happy for a moment, and then the unhappiness comes back again. They say, oh, poor me, the unhappiness is back again. They haven't learned that point that you can change it again. But when you finally learn that point of no matter how obstructed the mind gets, no matter how many hindrances, no matter whatever the situation is in, maybe somebody's calling you a pig and you don't even have a police uniform on, or maybe somebody is calling you a racist epithet. You can, in fact, come out of your bad feelings right then and there by saying, that's not my problem. I don't have any problems. So, if you can change whatever obstructions that come into your mind, whatever situation it's in, if you have the confidence that you can change your mind and come out of that, the Buddha says that that's the first knowledge. It is noble. It is actually part of the Buddha's path. And most importantly, this is not a position or an attitude held by ordinary people. Ordinary people feel victimized by being called names. But when someone is taking that step of, I can handle anything, then that means that they can't touch us. This is the first step of the noble path. And if you keep practicing over and over and over again, you'll be able to come to that place of, I can handle it. I give you little phrases like, not my business. Whatever they're doing out there, that's not my business. Whatever Donald Trump does, not my business. Whatever Putin does, it's not my business. Whatever the Christians do, that's not my business. What is my business? To be happy, to be okay, to be comfortable, to be relaxed, to be free. This is your business. Can you remember that? Can you remember that the only business you have is to be free from the things that used to hinder you from being free and happy? So, now that I've said that much, let me start picking on some of my friends here. Mr. Ben, I really like picking on you so much because you enjoy it. So, what do you think about today's talk?
Yeah, great to hear it again from the ground up. What goes into practice, the benefits. Yeah, it's really joyful, and it's really simple. It just takes repetition, but the benefits are here and now. They're always here and now, right from the first time we do it, and it just gets easier the more we do it over and over.
Better. And all we have to do is remember
Yeah.
to practice. So, Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, something's I don't know what to say. Just something I did notice slowly start to make sense. When you said, I mean, it has been repeated a lot before, but it's just I could make a change right now. It's
You exactly. Let me mention it to you this way to those guys who have heard this all before. Imagine that you're digging a well and that you put the shovel to the dirt several times, but every time that you hear me talk about it, you put another shovel in. Yeah, I can do this. And then you practice more and you wind up feeling good again. So,
yes.
Karwan, what do you think?
Very good talk, Dhammarato. Very good. The only thing is, Dhammarato, I know exactly everything that you heard. I've, of course, heard before. But sometimes it is just like there is something in me that is just almost like being okay with feeling bad. I mean, I know in many moments I
It's an
can
old
make a
habit.
change. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's very
You're like an old man who enjoys a cigar knowing that it's giving you mouth cancer.
exactly, exactly.
But in fact, I wanted to mention something about that. You talked about racism. Here you are in Thailand. In Thailand, I'm not saying there's no racism, but I would say that Thailand is one of the places on earth where there is very, very little racism. And most of the racism is, guess what? To the Chinese. The funny thing about it is that the Chinese, mostly because they're north, have light skin to where the Thais, especially in southern Thailand, have the very dark brown skin. And so they have these skincare products that come from the West, and the girls want to lighten their skin, but it's not racism. It's because they're being sold something and they think that it's good. That in fact, um, the point that I'm making here is that any racism, Karwan, that you had was probably in Europe. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So why are you bringing up the past? You don't live in Europe anymore. Can you be here
Yeah, but
now?
yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
see you. Yeah.
So anytime that you have a thought of racism, you can say, wait a minute, I don't have to think about racism right now. That's all in the past. Let me just forget about it and be happy.
Yeah,
Another
that
thing that we can say, go ahead.
no, go on, go on. But I think just to practice in this moment and for this moment, and only in regards to things that are present in this moment. Yeah.
Right. Now, the best part about now is you've got a whole lot of it. The past is gone, it's dead. You can't fix it. You can't do anything. The future is yet to be, and nobody knows what the future is. But we've got not only some now, we've got a lot of it. Why is it that all the religions keep talking about the past and the future? The Christians are all into the past. They're into Jesus. The Islam are into Muhammad. They're into the past. They're into the future. They're into heaven in the future. And warriors and crucified guys are in the past. Why can't we be here now? Because now is all we've got. This is all there is. Can we practice being here now? If we can practice being here now, what are we going to do with now? We're going to look at what's going on right now and make some changes right now. You can't change the past. You can't even change the future because you don't have a clue about what the future is going to be. But we can change right now, Karwan.
Yep.
And so when thoughts of racism come up, we can say, hey, well, I'm so glad I don't have any racism right now, except that which I brought up. And out you go. What do you think, huh?
Yeah, I understand the thought, let's say, is, oh, but what if I go back to Europe or go back to somewhere else and there is racism or
Don't.
something else? Which
Why should you go back to Europe? If Phuket's not good for you, then why don't you go to Wat Suan Mok? We've got lots of things here in Thailand for you. Europe's kind of dangerous, especially right now. I would recommend not going back to Europe. You probably find something dangerous there. Bunch of bullshit, actually.
I will need to go back soon and to fix some things and then come back. Yep.
All right. So go happily, stay a short time happily, fix whatever you got to fix happily, and then hot put it right back here.
Yep. That's the plan. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good plan. So, Dhamma friend, what do you think?
Do I really have to think right now?
Hmm?
Do I really have to think right now? It's so cozy.
Yeah, think happy.
Yeah. That's all that's needed.
Oh, what a relief it is.
Yeah.
And Maud, do you have something to say?
Thank you so much, Dhammarato. Really grateful for hearing the Noble Dhamma.
Yes.
Practicing correctly, it makes life feel lighter. It feels like you can drop all the made up shit and say that this is not my problem. This is not a problem at the moment. I can drop this.
Mm-hmm.
Really thankful.
But we have to remember. We have to
Yes.
remember that we could do that. That's the practice. That's the skill. In fact, the best skill that you can learn is to learn to remember to be here now. The second best skill that you can learn is to learn to investigate, to see what's happening right now quickly, easily. Aha, I see you, Dhamma. Or aha, I see you, Mara. And if there's Mara, then let's change it. Out you go. And so the third skill is the skill of learning to change so that it no longer is a big effort to change. It becomes easy to change, almost energetic. And so the skills then that we're going to develop are the skill of happiness, the skill of being safe and secure and comfortable and satisfied. Everything is okay. So keep practicing. That's what the teaching is that you got to practice. The question is, do you have enough respect for the teachings of the Buddha to actually practice it enough to get the great benefit out of it that is there? So, Paul, what do you think? What you got to say?
Practice life is a good life. It's a lot lighter. It's a lot easier than how we have been trained and conditioned to live our life uh, before the practice.
All right. So, Timo, do you have something to say?
I'm in Europe and I'm okay. I don't feel in danger. To me, Europe is just a concept.
Yes, and not only that, but Europe is not a source of danger. It's only your own mind that's a source of danger anyway.
You are the danger, Timo.
So, Jesse, do you have something to say?
Great talk, Dhammarato. I think you gave an example about work, and I worked a stressful job 3 years ago, but I would remind myself, like you said, it was like, this is nothing. And it's made it easier now to look back and say, well, I went through that, I can get through this. So
yeah, I can do this now. I'm
Yeah.
all stressed out. I know how to handle stress. I got no stress anymore. Excellent. So, Potato, what do you think?
I think I have a lion of a teacher and great friends here. So I've been enjoying that and getting nurtured from that.
Roar. All right. Roloff, you're new here. What do you think?
It's great to hear this all again because I've been listening to the videos for quite a while, and I think the first knowledge part is really important because once that sinks in a little bit, then it's really easy to keep on the practice. Once you have that
Yes.
confidence, then
All you
you
have
can
to
keep
do
going
is
on.
remember to look. Remember to
So
look
it's,
and to change. You do that over and over again, and pretty soon you're a lion too. So, Clara, what do you have to say? You're new here. Welcome.
Oh, yes. Oh, can you hear me, everybody? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Everyone. Oh, hey. Good morning. Thank you for letting me listen. It's my first time. Um, I agree with everything. I just have one thing to say, Dhammarato. Is that you say, oh, let's be happy. Yes, I totally agree. Just the thing is, the problem is sometimes when we had many stressful situations on our past, that it's hard to be happy in the present because when I started meditation this year, and I realized through meditation, through seeing, uh, having the right view, I mean, seeing with my own experience, that uh, we there is a problem of feelings. I mean, your thoughts, you want to be happy, but you cannot. But your feelings, I mean, your sensation. So the question of be happy or not be happy, when we are in ignorance, when we don't realize, when we don't have self observation, what happened in your body, in our feelings and sensations. I mean, I think the name is Vedana, right, Dhammarato? Vedana in the Pali, in
All
hello, can you
right.
hear me?
So,
Vedana.
yes, I can
So
hear you.
you want to be happy, but we don't realize that it's the feelings that don't make us to be happy. So
You're
it's that
telling
is
me that you have no control over your feelings. Isn't that what I hear? Is that
yes,
what?
because sometimes I think people cannot be happy because they don't realize, they don't notice, they're not able to notice that are they feelings, I mean, like sankharas, that formations. So you are sometimes you are anxious, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel very bad feelings because we confuse. We think that our feelings is ourselves, but the feelings are not ourselves. I mean, when we start meditation, we can
Those kind of
separate.
things are not the important point. Let me stress this. That's not the important point. I hear a lot of Buddhists talk about it like that, but you're missing the important thing. And the important thing is that you have to practice changing those statements that you're making. You have to practice being okay. You have to practice over and over and over again to throw those unwholesome thoughts out and start having happy, wholesome thoughts. This is the practice that the Buddha gave out. And there's an awful lot of Buddhist practices that have all kinds of information that's useless, no value at all. The only thing that's going to be of value is that you can over and over again, by remembering, see these things and change them. You have to keep making a change into being safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied. Safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied. You have to practice that over and over again. And so this is the advice that I have. In fact, I would recommend that you listen to this tape again and also join our Discord group so that you can hear that we have to do this over and over again. We can't just say, oh, well, I am dissatisfied, or say that all the Sankaras, or all of that kind of stuff, and stop making these victimized statements and start making the statement of, I can do this. I can come out of my misery. I can do this. I can change. And then you start changing right then and there. In fact, I can change is quite a change for you, isn't it? That's the whole
You mean
point, that this is a change model. Go ahead.
you mean change the feeling? Try to change the feeling.
Yes, and the example and the practice is number one, gladden the mind, and we gladden the mind by having happy thoughts. And by having the happy thought, I can do this, that will give you the attitude, I can do this, and then you begin to feel, I can do this. And it goes in that order. The words affect the attitude affects the feelings. And so you keep doing that over and over again, you can, in fact, begin to change the way you feel. There are many people already on this group who've experienced the fact that they can change the way they feel. Ben and Ivan and Mikey, let's see who else is here. Timo, these guys have been able to change the way they feel, and they change it by one thought at a time.
I see. Thank you for the advice. I usually, when I feel bad, I usually wait. The feeling has gone, but now I'm gonna try some effort for. I mean, thinking, using the
You're
mental.
waiting.
Thinking is
That
something.
waiting is bad feelings. You're going to just say, oh, I feel bad. I'm just going to sit here and feel bad, and maybe it'll change. Well, it will. Everything keeps changing. Why don't you give it some assistance and start changing yourself? I can do this. That's the attitude that you're wanting to develop. So you can start saying
I
words
see.
like, I feel good. Everything is okay. Not a problem in the world. No place to go and nothing to do. Everything is easy. Easy peasy. Life is easy. All you have to do is just breathe and feel good. Everybody's in the habit of being a victim. So see that victimhood and say, I'm not a victim. I'm okay.
Okay, but did you understand my point? Did you understand my point?
I understand it. I know of at least maybe 300,000 or 400,000 people personally that have that position, and I have a good idea that maybe we have 7 or 8 billion people have that position. So you're in the common. That's the ordinary, and I'm inviting you to come out of the ordinary Stop thinking I want to be understood. You don't have to be understood. Into I'm going to be happy.
I see. Mm-hmm. All right.
Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy right now. That's the way to do it, is to change. So does
Right.
anybody else
Mhm.
have anything to say?
Yeah, I have a big question. Hello.
Hello, Sheep. Why didn't you join us an hour ago? Why are you coming on an hour late?
I'm just like checking the Discord and I see that I don't have schedule for Sangha. Maybe I
Well,
will do
then
it.
get the schedule.
Okay. Yesterday I talked with Kawan and Palmat. He said that gladdening the mind came before changing the mind, right? So it's like, so can I talk myself to feel like this feeling is normal? Like whatever happened is normal and treat it
Yes,
lightly, right? That I
right.
think.
It's normal because that's a habit. Let's stop having normal and start having everything is really great. Let's boost this up. Let's have some wholesome thoughts. Let's not look for the baseline normal, because your baseline normal is pretty deep in a hole.
Okay.
Yeah, some people have a very wrong idea of normalcy. Like from if you hear it from a noble monk when they talk about normalcy, you will have an idea of like it's a mixture of bad feeling. But that's the ordinary way of looking at it.
Oh,
So your
well,
normalcy twisted.
when I say it's normal, it's more like my brain are growing up in the bad situation, so it's developed susceptible to this feeling more than normal, and that's okay. It's normal that this is happening, and we see that it's not helpful. So we doing what helpful, like clearing my mind, having a light instead of taking it too seriously.
Can you
Have some light.
remember?
Yeah.
You can remember that it's not a bad situation. The only bad there is you calling the situation bad. There is no such thing as a bad situation other than the fact that you're making the situation bad. Let us say that your mom is fussing at you. You can say, well, thanks, Mom. You're really beneficial. But you already have a bad feeling, and so you have a bad attitude, and you need to start to see that and make some changes. That's your normal. Your normal is you're in a bad situation, and you can change that normal into everything is okay. My mom's trying to help me. She's a good lady. If you started having that attitude, she'd really enjoy your presence.
Oh, I doubt it.
You are smiling.
There you go. That's it. I doubt it. You
Smiling.
hear that, folks? That's the unhappy, that's the unwholesome thought right there. That's your old habit. You doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah, that's
And
my
you
old
haven't
habit.
even tried it yet, so you're just going to stay stuck in your doubt. It's time to come out of your doubt. It's time to start seeing your mom as a really delightful old lady. She's there to help you, but you don't like her trying to help you, and so you make it into a bad situation. That's you doing that. You can't blame your mom for it. Stop blaming her and start taking responsibility for your own happiness.
How do you make like
joy? She'll treat you with joy, I bet.
Yeah. How do you make hard and serious stuff into light and happy? Like,
Start looking at what you're thinking and recognize that what you're thinking is a bunch of crap. And then you can change it.
yeah,
You can change it. You can become happy. Keep keep being happy. Keep practicing being happy.
Well, yeah. They just like I have a little bit hiccup, I guess. My practice, like I think Iwan say
Change it.
that
Change
the
it.
whole
Don't give
part.
your excuses for it.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yeah, I
Don't
understand. I'm changing.
don't judge your practice. Forget about it. Just start now.
Start now.
Yeah,
Everything is okay right now.
actually, it's getting better when I'm practice being happy. It's get easier.
Yes, exactly. You take the cure and you're happy right now. And then you go back and have the old habits again. So when you go back into those old habits, see that and say, aha, I can change. I just changed. I'll change again. And I'll change again. I can be happy right now. This is the practice. And you need to practice. Everybody needs to practice. Even those old dudes that think that they've done all the practice they need to do. In fact, you could go so far as to say that the Arahat still practices, but he is so good at it. He is really, really good at it because he catches things immediately. So you start practicing so that you can catch things immediately. Even the Buddha talks about it. I see you, Mara.
Yeah.
And he catches it quickly. He catches it immediately. You start practicing so that you can catch these unwholesome thoughts quickly, immediately. And then you can change. You can be happy again. Yeah, there you go. You can
So
do
you
it.
saying like we practice being happy on any habit, right? Like when we eat, when we sleep, when we poop, when we pee, when we work, when we walking, we practice being happy.
When you're getting fussed at by your mom.
Yeah, like when
Happy.
I'm getting scolded by my mom. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're being
Okay.
fussed at by your sister, be happy.
Yeah,
Thank your
that's
sister.
how good
Say,
thing.
thank you so much for taking care of me. Oh, I really enjoy you taking care of me. That'll be quite a surprise for her, won't it?
Yeah. I see. So practice is all the time, at moment by moment.
Every time you remember. Don't
Yeah.
get caught into the trap of all the time, because if you catch yourself not doing it, you'll feel bad. Oh, I'm not doing it. Rather than saying, hot dog, I can do it right now. I can do it right now because I remember right now. All right. So, does anybody else have anything to say?
I just
Mikey.
want to say.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say about the word change. I mean, in spirituality, people are the word change is almost like it is dirty. Like we are just meant to observe and accept and see and look to make a change. To be honest, the first
That's
time that I have
so
met
built
you,
into their system.
about word
The Christians have a version of it. Islam has a version of it, and the Christians' version of it I know better, and that is that there is original sin. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. You can't do it by yourself. You need to suck on the finger of Jesus so that he'll forgive you. That's not the Buddha's way. The Buddha's way is see that you want to suck on somebody's finger and suck on your own damn finger. You don't get any benefit by getting somebody else to help you. You got to do the work yourself. That's the beautiful part is that you got to practice being happy. It's the only way it'll do it. You got to keep practicing. All right. Mikey, why don't we take this thing home?
Gladly. And yes, we can be happy pooping and peeing and eating, laying down to sleep. In fact, what a joy it is to be alive right now. Enjoy this breath. So yes, thank you friends for being here today. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button, leave a comment. That'll ensure the Dhammarato videos pop up in your YouTube feed. You can also check these Sangha calls out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And yeah, join us here on the Dhamma Friends Discord. And for those of you that are new here today, go ahead and leave a day and time for when you'd like to do a one-on-one call. We enjoy making new friends here, especially noble friends here in the Sangha. So let's get some more one-on-one calls going and express the Dhamma with one another. So yeah, thank you again for being here today, and take care. Take it easy.
Thank you all for coming. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dhammarato.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, friends.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you, friends.